Welcome to Classic Game Room, where we all know that Donkey Kong is the real King of Kong, but do you also know that he's the King of Swing? This is DK King of Swing for the Game Boy Advance. DK King of Swing, released in 2005 for the Game Boy Advance, is a puzzle game, sort of, featuring Donkey Kong, swinging like a king, through levels designed to challenge and eventually infuriate you. While this is an excellent game, my recommendation is to not play it on your expensive Game Boy Advance SP, because eventually you'll want to smash it with a brick. So buy a cheaper Game Boy Advance or use the GameCube player, because those controllers are pretty much disposable. And in many cases, they will withstand brick attacks. Now, when you get into the meat of this game, it's not a super fast-paced game like most Donkey Kong games. This one requires some patience and a lot of strategy, as you grab those dots and climb or swing through levels, while also attacking enemies and picking up those bananas for additional health. DK King of Swing starts off easy enough, but eventually starts to punish you with what I would consider creative yet sadistic levels. This one has a control scheme that, when explained verbally, makes me want to cringe, but when you get into it, it works quite well. It's played with the left and right buttons on your Game Boy Advance. A somewhat counterintuitive control scheme, to say the least. Surprisingly enough, though, it works really well for DK King of Swing. You hold down the left button to grapple with your left hand and the right to grab things with your right, and hold down both to charge Donkey Kong's attack, which you also use to smash barrels and jump for distance. If you're going to attack enemies, remember to wait until they're really close and hit them dead center, or else Donkey Kong will take damage, and you'll be reaching for that brick, which is laying right behind you. DK King of Swing is a clever little game to take with you on the go or play seriously, wherever you are, not surrounded by bricks. But I work in a brick factory, then don't bring this game to work. This is a fine example of a good handheld game designed specifically for the Game Boy Advance. These kinds of games have largely made a move on to tablets and other mobile platforms, so it's fun to pick one up and just play it with buttons on the Game Boy Advance. And play it with Donkey Kong. You'll never find him on an iPad. He's more of an Android kind of guy. Don't lose your grip, Donkey Kong, you'll fall to your doom! There's a nice variety of level designs and challenges in DK King of Swing. It's not a repetitive game. The designers have done a great job consistently mixing up what it is that you have to do each time you get into a new level. There's even end boss battles, and check this out, I'm climbing inside a tornado. It's the realism. This game is very clumsy to play at first. It's just not a normal control scheme, but once you get into it, you'll find yourself jumping and swinging and flying through levels with ease. At least until you hit a new level that you're not very good at, and you can go back to old levels and collect some more bananas, which you'll want for health and some temporary invisibility. I mean invincibility. You're not friggin' Wonder Woman, you're Donkey Kong. In addition to the storyline, this one also has some competitive gameplay in the Jungle Jam. Link up 4 of your Game Boy Advances with friends and compete, which is a nice feature. This is a cool game with just clever, relatively simple gameplay that works. A big Classic Game Room thank you to our homeboy Eric in Dallas, Texas for sending this one to the show. Are you boss enough to be the King of Swing, or merely the Prince of Impalement after falling to your doom? It's DK, king of swing.